My next guest is one of Toowoomba's greats. Without this man, Toowoomba GKR Karate would not be where it is today. To bring you up to speed, he has done a lot of behind the scenes preparation and hard work, from collecting money from students and senseis, banking, doing books, organising gradings, seminars, collecting gis for students and gear. He has mentored many up-and-coming senseis, and this is all before we start talking about his own karate journey. This man is a second dan black belt. He is one of Toowoomba's highest senseis. You are an innovator. Let me explain.
I hope so.
You changed the way you taught classes, and back in the early days you taught class combinations, and today we have the Sensei Handbook which teaches class combinations.
It does, doesn't it?
So you were years before that even came in, which is great. I challenge anyone to stop his devastating roundhouse kick,
I don't think you can do that.
followed up by a sharp back fist in Kumite. I bring you a veteran of 20 years in karate and now recently retired, Greg Millward. How are you?
Oh, mate, crying.
Oh, it's
Deja vu all over again.
It is, eh? It is.
What a G-up.
Yeah, that's why I didn't send it
Honestly, did not know I had that much impact on the bloody, on Toowoomba.
to you. It's great, isn't it? Yeah. Tell me a bit about you. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in New South Wales, a place called Barrel, back in July 1962, and stayed there throughout my schooling years. And when I finished high school, I moved to Cairns, where I stayed for quite a few years before moving back, looking for work. And that was where I ended up getting married back in New South Wales and having 4 kids. And then 20 years later, we moved to Toowoomba.
So how many siblings do you have?
4.
4.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Nice.
Mm.
And you are, sorry, did you just say that you're the youngest or oldest?
No, in my family.
In your family,
Yeah, I'm the eldest in my family. I've got 2 sisters.
What was your first job and how much were you earning?
Job? Goodness gracious, this turn back time. First job I was, when I was still at school, I was working in a fish and chip shop. I think I was doing about $2 a week.
And that was back where?
In Barrel.
In Barrel.
Yeah.
Nice. Fish and chip shop.
Yeah, fish and chip shop. And
Did you sample
quite
much of the merchandise?
I can still smell the smells, actually. Funny that.
Yeah, it's great.
When I left high school, I actually got to work in a brickyard, doing the mixing of the dirt for all the bricks, all the different clays for doing bricks.
Nice.
That was just before I moved to Cairns.
Yeah, good. Good. What was your first car and colour?
Oh, goodness gracious. My first car was a Fairlane 351, purple, vinyl roof.
Fairlane, what model was that year?
G 1973.
1973.
How's that for 351?
Yeah, God, that'll be worth a fortune now.
Wouldn't it?
Do you wish you kept it?
I do, and the Cobra.
But you had a Cobra later on
in life. Yeah. After I moved to Queensland, I bought that.
So you had 2 Cobras, or you just had the one?
One Cobra,
Yeah, I remember that Cobra.
Many V8s.
Did you do any sports as a young fella? And elaborate what sport you did.
Yeah. Played soccer when I was back in my schooling days, like real early, like in, what was I, under 10s or under 12s or some bloody thing. We did soccer, and then that was pretty much it for extra, we want to call it extra activities outside of school.
Extracurricular?
Yeah, out of school. It wasn't until later in life that I took up sport and a bit more serious with roller hockey and...
Roller hockey? Oh, that would have been fun.
But I was in Queensland then, I wasn't in New South Wales.
So were you in Cairns at that stage?
Yeah, back up in Yungaburra.
So you would have been, because I think you've told me this story before, you would have played roller hockey against the Toowoomba Skatehaven team.
That's why I ended up moving to Toowoomba, I think, because I knew what the sports facilities were like here in Toowoomba, because they were the team to beat back in the day. And I'm talking back in the 80s. So you can imagine all of Queensland competing against Toowoomba.
Yep.
I never actually had the fortune of roller skating in Toowoomba, but because it had shut down when I moved up here. But Toowoomba was actually the team to beat, and they were the ones that travelled the furthest because everyone used to come to Mackay or Townsville
Yeah.
to do the state tournaments. And I tell you, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I do remember that. Like, I was too young to partake in that sort of stuff, but I'm pretty sure I remember them having a good team.
They did
because
have a good team,
the
yeah.
Skate Haven
Yeah.
roller rink at Toowoomba
Yeah.
was brilliant.
Yeah, it'd be good for them to have a get together one day and have a reunion, I reckon.
Yeah, well, that Skate Haven's no longer there. It's
No,
some
I know.
sort of support service now.
We're still around. I think we were actually called because we were in Atherton when we were playing up there, and our team was Cool Breeze.
Cool Breeze. That's an awesome name. I like that. That's great.
I've still got a shirt somewhere that says Cool Breeze. It's a lot of fun.
So the next question is, have you always been sporty?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I did try and dabble in rugby league there at a short stage, but my back, I had an accident when I was 16 diving into shallow water.
Oh dear.
Broke the old back in one spot that prevented me from doing contact sport basically of any significance anyway. So every time I got tackled, I flat out walking for the next 2 days. So I give the game away and just stuck to. Well, I actually didn't do any sport for a long time.
Wow.
Except for roller hockey.
Yeah.
All the years I lived in Youngaborough, I did roller hockey, so until I left.
And one question I did forget to ask before: what position did you play in soccer?
Soccer, I think I was a fullback.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
From memory.
Yep. That's great.
I don't even remember the rules of the game now, but I do remember being back near the goalie, so I think it was a fullback.
What do you do for a living today?
Commercial cleaner, builders cleans and office cleans. Own business.
Yep. Enjoy that?
I've liked it for the last 17 years.
Well, that's handy, isn't it? You've got to like what you do,
speaks for
otherwise
itself.
it's going to suck completely, isn't it? Yeah.
Keeps the young bloke employed. I've got one employee, and the young bloke, the youngest of my family.
How old's he?
What's he now? 26, I think.
26?
The other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He can take over the reins when I'm finished.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Might employ me.
You employ you, have his own young bloke to help him out.
Hey, I don't know about that. Character.
Let's move on to your karate journey. Why did you join karate?
It was that old cliche, someone knocked on the door and said, would you like to join up with the local karate club that just started up in the area, which was back in New South Wales because I was living down there at the time. And that was in, when was that? It was 20-something years ago.
20 years ago?
So it'll be,
Does that make it in
2002?
Yeah.
Something like that. I joined up.
Yep, okay.
Just as a basic white belt, and primarily I wanted to start it because I wanted to put the 4 kids through it. I can't remember how old they were back then, but they weren't that old, and I took the 4 of them up there. They all graded through to, what was the highest levels? I think they went through to blue belt, green belts, blue belts or something or other. It was all good, well and good, until I became an instructor.
No.
Once I became an instructor, the kids stopped doing karate. Something about someone said, Dad, you're just too tough.
Oh, that's harsh.
They did play a little bit when I moved to Toowoomba, but they didn't stay.
I think I remember the youngest fella doing it.
Yeah, the boys.
I don't remember anyone else doing it though.
They all had a go at, well, my first dojo, or second dojo was at Wilsonton, and I'm sure the girls all, well, I think all 4 of them actually come to class there from originally, but that was back in 2004 or something?
Yeah, okay, that's, they were still 2 years before my time. I remember the young fella, the youngest boy doing it.
Young braids, right.
But yeah, he was the only one at the time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, again, too tough a dad.
What region did you start in?
Region 17, which was based out of Wollongong, but we were an hour from Wollongong up on the Southern Highlands, and then our dojo was at Mossvale, where I went to. That was where I lived, and that was the first dojo that GKR put on the Southern Highlands.
Who was your first instructor?
Sensei Clint.
Sensei Clint.
He was ARM for Region 17.
So was Sensei Clint a black belt, or was he a black and white belt?
He was actually a red belt, black and white belt.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then our dojo instructor that came in a little later was Sensei Irwin. He was a black belt.
Did they have many black belts down there at that time?
Yeah, in Wollongong they did.
They did, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd
good.
been going for quite some time before I started. I don't know what the highest grade was though.
Yeah,
I can't
right.
remember.
Yeah, okay. So you showed up for the first time at class. You're a fresh white belt. How are you feeling? What's going through your head when you walk in through that door?
Well, you've got to remember that the first class was all new students because they'd only just done some canvassing through our town, and that was the very first class that was up there. So we were all equal.
So it put everyone on an equal playing
everybody
field.
was on an equal playing field. Nobody had really, from what I could gather, nobody had actually really done martial arts before. But I wasn't going to let the cat out of the bag that I'd had to dabble in it.
Yeah.
I was just playing silly. But my main goal was to have the kids up there and get them into training. And then we all just lined up. I think there was about 2 or 3 lines or something.
Wow.
20, 30 students from memory.
That's hardcore.
Between kids and adults. And that was when we had, like, Sensei Clint was there. And I think actually Sensei Chad might have come in. Sensei Chad Finesse, he was the regional manager. I think he was there on the second, no, he might have been there on the second or third class we had from memory, because he actually bumped me on the shoulder one day and one afternoon and said to me, he said, "You've done this before?" And I looked and gave him a wink and I said, "Yeah."
Not letting on.
I said, a long time ago. It was like, over 20 years ago I'd done it.
Yeah. So,
I think I was only a teenager at the time.
yeah, great.
Yeah, because you've got to remember, I went to school in New South Wales, I moved to Queensland, and then had to come back south again looking for work. So I did a lot of stuff in Cairns before moving back to New South Wales, finding work, where I stayed after I got married and had the 4 kids.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you moved to Toowoomba because you liked it so much. And did you get straight into karate when you started, or did you start as a student, or were you a sensei straight away?
I was lucky enough to have an invite to the GKR 25th anniversary dinner, which was at Renwick Racecourse, Sydney. And I'd already been speaking to Region 10's regional manager, which was Sensei Andrew Cook.
Andrew Cook.
At the time, and the ARM was Sensei Marc Chestermaster. So I'd already spoken to those guys and said to them that, look, I'm moving up there in the Christmas of 2004. Would there be a role for an instructor in Toowoomba? And of course they said straight away, yes, there will be. So when I moved up here, straight after the Christmas holidays, I had a dojo already set up for me to take over.
Lovely. Where was that?
Kabbalah.
At Kabbalah. Wow.
Because remember, if we turn back time a little bit, I was doing karate 2 years prior to coming to Toowoomba, back in Mossvale. And in the first 6 months, I'd graded from white belt to blue belt, and then became a black and white belt instructor.
Down in Sydney.
And where I picked up 2 dojos, up on the Southern Highlands.
Yep. Where
I picked up Mossvale and Barrel as my dojos. And we were running 30, 40 students every week there.
Wow.
So it was big classes, good numbers, a lot of good attitude, and just great people all together. And then that's why I continued to do it when I knew I was moving to Toowoomba. I had to leave Region 17, come to Region 10. I knew I had to get back into teaching when I come up here. So
it pretty much happened straight away as soon as you got up here.
Yeah, and I was comfortable to just go straight. No different to having new students.
And did you have many students to begin with out at Kabbalah?
Not Kabbalah, no. I think it was down around 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 10 at max. For whatever reason, Kabbalah seemed to be too far away from anywhere. Even though it was only just down the street.
Just down the road, yeah. On the whole, was there many, like, karate in Toowoomba was relatively new when
It was relatively new, yeah. It was run by Sensei Marc Chestermaster at the time. He was the ARN for Sensei Andrew out of Region 10. He lived in Brisbane. So it was like a satellite Region 10 up here on Toowoomba. And there were dojos in Toowoomba City itself, and I think we actually had around 110, 120 students on any given week.
Is that right? So it was still...
there was big numbers back then in those days, but we were running, still running well, from what I can remember, I think we still had about 9 or 10 classes going out every week. And then Kabbalah was new because they just established Kabbalah to pick up the Highfields crew. And that was what I took on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Do you remember like any of the other senseis' names that were around at the time?
Gosh, yeah, I do. Sensei Kieran, Sensei Justin, Sensei Adrian, Sensei Nat.
Justin Otto?
Oh, Justin Otto, Chantel. We had heaps of them. Sensei Shane, Sensei Marc.
I don't think I remember Chantel.
She was with Sensei Kieran. He's off sidekick up there, Senpai, and then she was also running the Rangeville class as well.
Yeah, so I think she might have been when I first started. She might have left not long after that.
I've seen quite a lot of instructors come through Toowoomba, to be honest.
Exactly.
Personal reasons they leave and have to move, either leave town or just job situations and
change jobs or whatever. Let's go back. Let's go back when you first started, and tell me about your first grading.
First grading when I first
and the
started,
next,
going
the
to
next few gradings after that.
I should have got my grading slips down. I've got them at home.
See when you did it.
I was pretty eager actually to get those. The first thing we got was a yellow tip, and the yellow tip on that belt just means you can move along the line, and that, like I said originally, the class was all new.
It was a good feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, and even though we all graded pretty much at the same time for our yellow tips, once they realised that I had a little bit of past experience, I started shifting along that line pretty quickly. So I wouldn't say I built a bigger ego, but I definitely built up a bit more pride in the fact that I was getting different coloured belts and moving along the line pretty rapidly and leaving other people down the track a bit. You know what I mean? Like, and my kids were following me along to the point of blue belt. That's when I became an instructor. Actually, it was black and white belt. It was when I was a blue belt, and that was when, Dad, these classes are just too hard.
Yeah. we don't like doing this anymore, Dad. They're just too hard. So you've done another style before, and
I started up in Cairns, but I don't recall what the style was. Like I say, it was a long time ago now. And as for the instructor, I couldn't even tell you what his name was anymore. But I do remember being at Yorkie's Knob. That's where we lived at the time. Third Beach out of Cairns, and I had a good friend up there, Clifford, and he was the one that got me into it. Because I think we're only like 17 or 18. And of a night time when it's summertime, we'd be walking down Yorkie's Knob Beach with nunchuckers and swinging nunchuckers around our heads and practicing.
You never got pulled up by the police?
No. Didn't.
Were they illegal back then?
No, they were not.
No.
It was a lot of fun anyway. I don't know how many times we let them slip out of our hands. If we're walking down the road, we'd let them slip out of our hands and they go flying through the air in the middle of the night, and then we'd duck, run,
right,
clunk, 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 clunk on the bitumen, go and pick them up.
Incoming!
Missiles. Yeah.
So when did you realise that you were good at it? What belt level did you realise, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
I would say, I wouldn't say exceptionally good, but I was pretty average with it, probably from green belt onwards. I did have a lot of trouble with kata.
Yep.
Kata was a pain in the backside for me. I just don't recall the moves and stuff like that.
Did that ever change? Did you ever get better at it? No. Did you just go downhill?
No. Yeah, no, it didn't go downhill. It just gave me the craps.
Trying to remember all the moves.
Yeah. Like I'd have chalk and I'd draw patterns on the concrete driveways, and if there was a chance between work, I'd be practicing. I used to do tyre changes and stuff like that, and I'd be drawing these things on the driveway and stepping the first kata and second kata. I'd do it off the top of my head by nowadays, but back then I just couldn't remember. Do you turn lefty? Do you turn right? How many degrees?
Good idea.
You know what I mean?
For people watching this at home, that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, just chalk it on the road and put 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 20 where you got to go to, and have an arrow pointing to the other direction until you can remember it, because I could never remember the moves in kata.
Yep.
Even right through to today, I still don't remember half the playing the moves in kata.
There's a lot of katas to remember though, Greg.
I think it's called winging it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been through some gradings where I've just winged it to add extra moves in.
The discipline side of it, I nailed that. There was no dramas there. Responses,
You're pretty good at kumite though, weren't you?
Yeah, I enjoyed kumite. I don't know why. See, I had a nickname. It was called One Speed,
One speed.
Yeah, you have to ask Sensei Clint about that. He's the one that nicknamed me One Speed.
Maybe we should get him on here.
Yeah, you should. He said, yeah, listen, Greg, you've got to slow down. I said, what do you mean slow? Well, you're One Speed, you're fast all the time. If I say go slow, medium, fast, you're the same speed right through, so I'm just going to call you One Speed.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'll have to try and remember
So
that.
obviously when I did Kumite, sparring, it was like, there was no holding back. It was just One Speed all the time.
Speaking of Kumite, did you ever go on any tournaments?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, enjoyed the tournaments.
Kata and Kumite?
Yeah, right from day one.
Yep. Win a lot of medals?
No,
No.
didn't need to.
Just
No.
enjoy
But remembering
going, yeah.
too, like in those days back in Sydney, we were a very big club, and there would be something like 300-400 students.
Oh, wow.
And in any of your categories that you were in, there'd be you're there all day, and you're in some good competition that had been going a lot longer than what we've been going.
Okay.
So we're in what I would have said was catch-up role. These guys in Sydney have been playing the game for a lot longer than what we were up in the Southern Islands, and we were sort of new at it. And Kumite was something that we could spar in class as much as we liked, but to do it in a tournament format was different again. So it was,
Exactly,
a
yeah.
different style, yeah.
It's
And then to perform it, like I didn't understand what they meant by performing a kata when you want to do a kata. It wasn't until I actually come to Queensland and when I higher up in my grades, and it just clicked one day. You got to perform it like you want to show somebody what it represents and what it means.
exactly right.
It was Queensland I got my first gold medal in Kumite.
Really?
Mm.
And that was just a normal tournament or a states, or what was that?
Oh, I think it was a state tournament, I can't remember now.
That's pretty impressive then,
Yeah, I think so.
because that's all
Yeah,
the
it was
all
funny.
the
I
regions.
don't think I should have even deserved it, because I actually was. I was too honest. I did my favourite round kick to someone's poor old head, and I didn't ki. And the referee at the time awarded me the point, and I said, "But I didn't ki."
And they still gave it to you?
No, they took it off me,
I took it off you.
but I still won anyway.
Well, then that it was justified then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was justified. Yeah, it was meant to be. So
At least you were honest about it.
yeah.
There's a few people in tournaments that milk the system,
Oh yeah.
so
Well,
to
that's
speak.
probably,
I think we'll leave it at that.
yeah, right. Because that was what stopped me from actually going after that date. Was yeah.
A few cheats going around there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
bit of
say no more.
bit of favouritism with referees and so forth. They say it doesn't happen, but it does happen.
It
It,
does
happens
happen.
in every sport. So
Exactly.
yes. And I'm not one to whinge and gringe about it. I just say, well,
You
I
just
know
gotta-
what I can do.
Yeah, exactly, on your own merits,
Yep.
eh? So, give me a few names of the people you most enjoyed sparring throughout your karate journey.
Most enjoyed sparring. Well, Sensei Clint's number one because I can never land a kick or a punch on him. He's just
He's just good.
too elite. Yeah.
He's good, yeah.
Yeah. I used to enjoy most of my young adult students that I'd get, like in the 20s, in like the young guns, what I used to call them, the real fiery ones, because they were very fast. And at my age, when I was teaching, because I was in their late 40s and 50s then, and I'd have to work out their weaknesses, and in doing so, it lifts your ability up to be able to counter them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, because even though they've got the speed and the agility and the fitness to overcome you, you've got to be able to defeat that with wisdom.
Yes.
And that's what I enjoyed about the 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then my favourites were me old fellas that just wanted to get belted up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey to black belt and your first black belt grading.
Journey to black belt. Yeah, as I was saying, the journey to black belt, I was a red belt when I moved to Queensland. I moved to Toowoomba, and I was running the classes, and we used to travel ourselves in my little minibus. We had this 12-seater Volkswagen Combi, senior training every week down in Sunnybank. So it was about a 130-kilometre drive down, 130-kilometre drive back again. And every fortnight we get training sessions up here with our regional instructor. But for whatever reason, we seemed to get left behind a little bit up here in Toowoomba back in the day, and gradings were far and few between. So it took me quite a while to get to
That was the same for students too, though, wasn't it? It was very sporadic.
Well, we
gradings
still
for
had
students as well,
gradings
wasn't it?
every 3 months for students.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So still had them every 3 months. It was just the instructor range that were lagging on their gradings for whatever reason. But like I say, I eventually got there. It took me a few years. I think about 5 years in total, because I think I'd been training for about 8 years at that time, if I remember rightly. And then the opportunity came up to become Shodan Ho. Well, have you ever heard of the word nervous? I've never been to a black belt grading before. Most of our gradings were done at home in our own region.
Exactly, yeah.
And then when you get to go to black belt level, you've got to go to the regional black belt gradings, which are in the city. So then you don't know nobody, and you don't know what you're up against, because they're not an hour and a half grading or 2 hour grading. They're actually about 3 hours to 4 hour gradings. And you're in a line of about 100 people. So
Yeah, wow.
sometimes you stick out when you're rather tall, as I am, and you try and hide yourself in the crowd.
You become a target.
Yeah, you know you're okay, you know you're good at it, but there's that doubt factor that says, oh, am I going to make it, am I not going to make it, and nerves step in.
Yeah.
And you've got to get through the butterflies. And once it all kicks off and everything starts happening and the grading is happening, it's easy. You just go.
Did you have to do black belt assessment first?
Yes,
Before the
yeah, we
grading?
did do an assessment. Yeah, every time we did an assessment, like I think it was a few weeks before the actual grading. And that was pretty intense, because that actually went a little bit longer, although there wasn't a lot of kumite in those. It was just the actual physical side of your basics, combinations, etc.
Making sure you got the right attitude to go to the next level.
Yeah, it was good. And then when you're at the grading itself, they'd already assessed you on your basics, and it was your self-defence and your kumite skills that they were judging you on then at the end of the grading session.
Yeah, great. Let's go back just before your black belt grading. Was there any black belts in Toowoomba when you got your black, or were there fresh black belts from other instructors?
No, I think there was. I think Sensei Kieran and I were the two original ones to go at first. Sensei Marc had already. What was the story? Oh, Sensei Marc was our ARM at the time, but he.
That Chesterfield?
Chester Master.
Chester Master.
Yeah,
yep.
Did he get to black belt or did he not get to black belt? Don't quote me on that, but I'm not too sure, 100% sure, because he actually resigned and left for family reasons and stuff like that, personal reasons.
Yeah, he wasn't part of GKR when I started.
He didn't have here for a couple of years after, because we were doing the canvassing ourselves. We were doing the SDCing and all that. So I'm thinking that it might have been Sensei Kieran and myself that were the first. Oh, and Justin.
And Justin?
Yeah. So we would have had Justin, Damien.
Is that Justin's mate?
The one that went to Townsville.
Yep.
Yeah. Whatever Damien's last name was. Sensei Kieran, myself, Shane McGregor.
Mark Rhodes.
He was after me, I think.
He was after you?
I think, yeah. I think most of them would have been, definitely Sensei Kieran, definitely myself, and Justin would have been the first black belts in Toowoomba.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there wasn't many.
No, so Sensei Kieran and I were the two that travelled together.
That's great.
Through the gradings, yeah.
And what happened when you came back from achieving black belt?
For starters, it was just different when you got a black belt.
Did students step their game up and
did they?
And try and kill you?
No, they feared you actually. Yeah, it was like they weren't in your face anymore. They'd be running away from you if you were doing kumite, and you were chasing them down.
I guess being a coloured belt student at the time, we were in awe because we hadn't had any black belts in Toowoomba. No. It was like, wow, we got black belts in Toowoomba. This is so cool.
Just remember that too, the provisional black belt was just a provisional, like being on your P plates, and then you had to qualify to open licence. So when you went to your first Dan black belt, that was the achievement level. Then you knew you'd passed your trade.
Yeah,
that's what I always use the analogy that karate's like doing a trade. You're an apprentice for 5, 6, 7, or 8 years, and when you get the first dan black belt, that just means that you're just qualified and able to build a house.
Exactly. You
Without
can stand on
supervision.
your own 2
Yeah,
feet now,
yeah.
and you're allowed to do things that others aren't.
Yeah.
So that leads me on to my next question.
Mhm.
Tell me about your first dan
First dan
black
black
belt
belt,
grading.
again,
When was it?
nervous. When was it? I can't remember when it was. A long time ago. Longer than I think I should remember. I should have. No,
Yep.
it was a long time ago. But again, and nervous as shit. And in that line and looking down the line, checking everybody out. Who am I going to be up against in sparring? Because that was always the fear. Like, do you go up against someone that's heaps better than you and going to make you look silly, or are you going to go through with the brown belts coming on to Showdown Ho and make yourself look good? So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when you got that certificate, A3 one, you qualified. Yeah, and I've achieved something worthwhile achieving all these years. I think, like I said, it was 8 years, probably 9 years to that date there.
Yep.
So it's not a game for the fast. It's a game for the endurance.
Yeah, exactly. I think I graded to Showdown Ho, might have been 2011, 2012. So
Was it?
you were already
Done.
done about by that stage.
Mm.
So it might have been like
12, 13?
2010 maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Dates didn't really worry me. Pieces of
Yeah.
paper didn't really worry me. It was just a mental achievement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, your first dan grading, which you don't remember,
Mm.
but your second dan grading, which I remember,
Do you remember, do you?
I do remember because I graded the same day.
Yeah, right. I think
But it was
Bill might have done too.
In Bill, it was actually quite a few of us that graded.
Yeah,
Sensei
yeah.
Kelly graded the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
day. And
That was a
Sensei
great day.
Kieran also,
He went to second dan.
he went to second dan
Yeah.
the same day too.
See, things happened there. We had a lot of structure change and things were moving very rapidly.
But it was a fair distance between those two gradings, wasn't it? You want to tell us why you didn't go for second dan sooner?
Yeah, I just don't remember Carter. That's pretty much it. It's not the ability to do the moves and the basics and the combinations. That's all well and good. But them Carters, they wouldn't lock in my head.
Yep.
And I wasn't going to go down there if I didn't know it.
And it had nothing to do with the fact that you remember how brutal the black belt gradings were.
No, they were fun.
No.
Yeah. I think I still got injuries after all these years. But Matt Rutherford graded.
He did.
Yeah, and I was sparring him and he dislocated my finger.
Oh, really? At the grading?
Yeah, and it still hasn't come good yet after all these years. This one here.
So just to remind you,
Yeah.
that grading was 2019.
Was it really?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
post,
Four
pre,
years ago now.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Look out.
Yep.
4 years ago.
4 years ago now.
Like
Well,
yesterday.
4 years ago in June.
Like yesterday. Middle of winter too, lovely.
Yep.
Nothing worse than doing a grading in December.
Exactly. I think Bill and I spoke about the same
Yep.
thing. We went, June grading.
Sweat holes.
Yeah. Because Brisbane like gets
Humidity is
10
ridiculous.
degrees hotter than
yeah.
in
It's warm.
summertime than in the shed than outside.
Yeah. 2019.
So you retired from karate at the end of last year. You told us leading up to your retirement that 20 years, I'm done.
Pretty much. It was my body that told me I'm done. It's hip joints, knee joints, and arthritis. It's one of those things, even though the club accommodates for that sort of problem,
Yeah.
I would say, it's something that I don't accommodate for because I don't like to go to a plateau and then taper off and still achieve goals.
Yes.
Because of injuries and stuff like that. I'd rather not do it at all. So it was the body telling me it's time to give the game away. And then I just said 20 years, that'll do.
And as Sensei Calvin keeps saying, we're probably one of the only sports in the world where we have to be good at it to show our students. And
Yeah.
in your case, you're saying your body's telling you otherwise that
Yeah.
you can't do this anymore.
Even just kneeling down on the floor to do your 3 bows.
It starts
It's
getting
like,
painful.
at the start of the class, like you just got, you can't be showing grimmage on your face like kneeling down, even though they say, look, you don't have to kneel down, just do it standing up. But it's not the protocol. The protocol says
Yes.
kneel down. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just, pain is a barrier.
it is. It
It
is.
tells you you're alive, but I tell you what.
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
keep going, but
Yeah.
it's just like, oh no.
It's
dude, you can't.
sometimes pain will overrule your thinking power, and when you're trying to run a class of 25, 30 students or whatever, and in constant agony or pain, whatever you want to call it, from arthritis, hip joints or knee joints or whatever, you just stop teaching.
Exactly.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
pause, and I didn't like pausing because I never used to pause. I used to just run a hard class for an hour and a half. And
I do remember those classes. I left quite exhausted.
well, hopefully
Thoroughly
everybody achieved something
enjoyed
out of
it. Exactly.
They all learnt something out of it because back in the day, GKR was a line drill class session.
Standing in line doing basics. You're talking
Basics,
about.
yeah, basic line drills. Building blocks is what I call it. You start off with a piece of plasticine that's round, and you've got to make it into a Lego block. And we used to do that week in, week out for years and years and years, and then combinations come into play later down the track. But when I come up here, I went straight into bat and put combinations.
I know, and that's what we were saying at the start. You were an innovator of that because no one else was doing it.
Well, combinations were put together. I put them together for self-defence moves, and because a building block doesn't do anything by itself. It's got to be 3, 4, 5 building blocks put together to make
That's great.
an object.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I'd put in combinations in, especially back in Wilsonton days. We had a beautiful hall up there, which was our dojo, and it was just nice and cool, and you could just do drills in combo work and then do partner work and self-defence work afterwards. That's what I used to like.
That's fantastic.
Well, like I said earlier, I didn't realise it made such an impact on my students by doing
Oh,
it.
you did. You did. Like you taught so many
Yeah.
of the instructor group, and that's a credit to you.
My analogy was you don't ride a push bike with 1 foot.
Well, I've tried that.
Yeah.
I've tried that
2
because
hands
the
and
pedal
2 feet.
the pedal fell off,
Yeah.
and it was very hard.
You don't skip a rope with one hand on the rope and one in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's coordination, and that was what the name of the game was: working coordination and skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
still working
being
on
fluid at it, like doing combos without having to think about it. It was only 4 steps, but those 4 steps were
very hard for some people.
yeah.
Trying to get their
It might have been my get out of not being able to do kata, because there's 20, 38 moves in katas, and doing combos might have been my way of getting around trying to teach myself how to remember doing kata.
Well, that could be the case too.
Not that I ever thought about it that way.
And like we've all got strong points in our karate, and weak points too. Yours was obviously kata.
That was my weak point, was kata, definitely kata.
Your strong points were kumite and teaching combinations.
But mind you, once I had that kata nailed, every time I'd done it, I made it better.
Yeah,
I made it
exactly.
stronger. It was trying to remember it initially to improve on it.
Yeah. So the kata wasn't the weak point, it was trying to remember the kata was the weak
remember
point.
the moves.
Exactly.
Yeah, until it become locked in the back of your mind that you didn't have to think about it anymore. And you just did it.
So what's next for Greg after
Greg.
retirement in
Mr. Greg.
from karate? What are you going to do with yourself?
I'm chillaxing at the moment. Like I've wound the business down, my working business down quite a bit, probably about 70% I've brought it down. So I'm doing a lot of work around Toowoomba area now, as opposed to all of half of Queensland. And I'm just sort of chillaxing and hopefully getting this body back together and
Enjoying life a little bit better.
just resting.
Camping more?
Oh, we definitely do a lot of camping, mate.
We're camping right now, folks.
It'll be I was camping once a month as it was, and now we're doing it twice a month. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whose fault's that? Mine?
yeah, it is now. No, camping's just a way of getting out and very relaxing. Yeah,
Exactly. As you can see, we've got a beautiful view behind us.
Got a
And
couple of things in the pipeline. I'm pretty keen to get, when I get up and running again, I want to get into doing some self-defense classes like on these camping trips we do, and just pure self-defense, nothing to do with martial arts, karate or anything else, just teaching people from whether it's a martial art background or just a housewife background.
to defend themselves.
Be vigilant of the areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't put yourself in dangerous situations.
Yeah,
And if
especially
you are in a situation where you are threatened, you've got the ability to get yourself out of there without any harm.
especially with all the youth crime that's
Yeah,
happening at the
yeah.
moment around the place. It's not good, and
No.
it's good to know, like you said, your surroundings and who's around you.
Just being vigilant. And
Exactly.
if I can say one thing to kids that are being bullied at school, I've got a grandson that gets bullied at school. He's just started high school. And I just said, look, Dom, you just got to look straight at him, mate. Don't look at the ground. The ground's not going to hurt you. Look straight at your bully in the face and say, you want to bring it on?
Yep.
I'm happy to take it on. Whether you get hit or not, it doesn't matter. As long as you prove that you're better than what they are.
Exactly.
The
And,
bully's only a bully because he's weak.
Yep. And he's
Yeah.
preying on the
Yeah.
weak people, and he wants them to be
Yeah,
weak so he
yeah.
can keep going.
They won't go and pick on the big front rower of football.
Yeah.
No.
It sounds like keyboards warriors, mate.
Mm.
You know, smash
Yeah.
on their keyboard and put you
Yeah.
down
The
because
funny thing about that is they can't spell.
they're doing something you're
Yeah.
doing something that they can't do.
I was looking at somebody the other day. I think it was some young woman put up a post about something to do with a fridge. Beautiful grammar all the way through, punctuations, everything. Fridge, F-R-I-G.
Oh no.
And she had it written in this whole 3 or 4 paragraphs. F-R-I-G, fridge.
Oh no.
I'm not a keyboard warrior, I just had a chuckle. I said, this lady knows how to do grammar, punctuation,
Yep.
anything else, but she can't spell
Couldn't
the
spell
word
fridge.
fridge. Oh, Godfathers.
Well, they're out
It was
there.
like frig.
Frig.
The frig's not working in the caravan.
Come and buy my frig. So, last question before we wrap it up. Tell me 3 things that you got out of karate.
Oh, awareness in public places.
Yep.
Strength.
Yep.
Coordination.
Coordination. Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks for joining me on this camping trip and being my guest on
Awesome.
the second ever podcast.
I hope it all works out for you.
Well, only
You're-
time will tell.
You're my protege.
Exactly right. Yeah.
One of them.
Well,
Yeah.
you've officially passed the mantle of longest serving member of Toowoomba
Toowoomba.
to me now.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you are too.
And I'm still 4 years behind you.
Yeah, so don't give it up in a hurry.
Exactly.
I might want to come back one day. You never know.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Cheers, bro.
That was good. And we're out.